Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well this morning. Make sure everything's working okay. All right, got the microphone. Pretty good. Looks like the levels are okay. I'm just I've been doing a morning practice session lately and kind of posting little bits of it to my Instagram. So check that out if you haven't. But I'm just going to play a little bit and warm up, and I'll kind of like walk you guys through what I like to do sometimes in the morning for warm up. Definitely my hands are feeling kind of slow today. So I'm going to start off with, I love to do some basic kind of chromatic patterns. I think those work really great. And one of the things that's happened to me in the last few years is I just don't really enjoy practicing out of a musical context, right? I always want to have some kind of drum groove happening or something to just make it sound more like music. I just don't really dig practicing things that aren't, in context, I would say. So that's pretty much what I do all the time. So I'm just going to grab a drum groove. I think I'm going to grab one from the great Nate Smith. I have this whole set of drum loops that I've bought from Loop Loft, a great company. I'm gonna just grab a little basic funky one, a little verse, something like this maybe. That'll do it. Pretty much everything he plays, guaranteed would be awesome. He's so good. All right, so let me get the mix on that, okay? And I just dropped it into Ableton Live so that it'll just continue to run all the time. Okay, so what I'm going to start with are just some 2-finger patterns. I actually have a video I'm going to publish on this that I made a little while back, but I feel like a lot of times people kind of miss the boat on the fact that they go straight to 4-finger patterns and all those variations, and they forget that 2-finger patterns are really important, as well as 3-finger patterns. I actually use more of those in my guitar playing than the 4-finger ones. So I'm going to start with fingers 1 and 2, index and middle. All right, and I just like to pick a fret and kind of play across, and a lot of times I'll double the picking in my right hand. So I just went to the 12th fret. Stick with 1 and 2 the whole time. It's really easy and straightforward, but I try and check in with my body, make sure I'm pretty relaxed. And I might just start to move this pattern around a little bit, still sticking with 1 and 2. Again, we're doing chromatics here, so it's not going to be like, the most pretty sounding thing necessarily, but it gets your hands moving. I'm going to switch to 1 and 3. So I skipped a finger, I'll skip a fret. Checking in on my shoulders. Making sure I'm not collapsed on the guitar. You'll notice I'm using this guitar cushion. Sorry. Yes, I love this guitar cushion, actually. I made a video about this you can check out. Still on 1 and 3. Try and get these things woken up. I'm going to switch to 1 and 4. I've been doing this exercise a long time, so I can switch where I want, So skip 2 fingers, skip 2 frets. Okay, I'm going to start to move it a little bit. I'm going to take away the repetition, like the 2 times in my right hand. I'm going to just go to 1. It'll sound like this. And notice I try to play all over the fretboard. But nowadays, I never do anything too much in a row. Like, you won't see me doing any exercise in a row like a lot. I always kind of interweave and interleave stuff. Again, checking in on my shoulders, arms. This is a warm-up, you know? I'm trying to make sure I'm comfy. Okay, we'll go to one of those weird finger groups. I'm going to go to 2 and 3. You know, I've been thinking about doing some guided warm-up kind of class in the morning. If you dig that idea and, you know, I could walk you through kind of warming up. I was thinking about maybe doing that a couple times a week, maybe 3 times a week for like a month or something. That'd be pretty cool. Maybe it could be on like a private Facebook group or something. But it'd be a good thing to do, and maybe we'd start at like 7 or 8 a.m. Central Time or something. It'd be a nice commitment. Get people playing early. Obviously, I would walk people through what I'm actually doing a little bit more. Okay, 2 and 4. Woo. So all of these have still been ascending. You'll notice I'm not doing like the inversion of the numbers yet, but I will. Okay, 3, 4. Notice I have like a really nice and clean sound. I like to hear all the notes. In recent years, I've also, you know, kind of realized that it's really important to practice with a distorted sound as well. So you should definitely practice your distortion tones as well as your clean tones. All right, I'm gonna flip the numbers around now. I'm gonna go 2, 1. All right, so if you notice, so far this has all been like eighth notes. I think I'm gonna flip it to triplets, right? So it'll get a little faster. And I might start doing some different patterns. Definitely starts to become a little more challenging, especially this is like 112. Going to 3 and 1. Maybe I start to jump around a little bit. At this tempo and this subdivision, I feel like I'm really getting warmed up. All right, 4 and 1. That's the pinky. Pinky's a little slow this morning. Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna take a little break. You know, so if you were interested in maybe, you know, some of the charts, I have all these like 2-finger and 3-finger groups written out. So if you were interested in kind of figuring out what those are. All right, coffee break. All right, here we go again. I'm going to go back to that 4-1. Again, because I'm kind of just doing this for me, I'm randomizing the pattern. And you might try that as well. All right, 3, 2. Remember to breathe and relax. Definitely feeling warmer now. 4-2. These ones involving the pinky are definitely more challenging for me, but they feel so good. All right, 4-3. Woo! Gotta relax to that one. 3, 4. Wow. Okay. Nice. All right. So that's kind of all the 2-finger groups that I wanted to do. So 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3, 2, 4, 3, 4, and all of the same ones backwards, right? And so now I'm going to move into something that sounds just like more like music, right? A little bit more tonal. That's just like kind of getting the hand moving, getting all the tendons and everything feeling nice and smooth. So again, I'm using Ableton Live to do this. This is how I practice nowadays. I just love it. It's just so good. So I'm going to go to a nice and relaxed A minor track that's in the style of John Mayer. This is a cool one. All right. So I've been working on this with some students, so I have some licks in there. Let's mute those, see what we got. All right. So again, A minor. And so one thing I'm going to try to do here is I want to work on some scales. And I've been working on a lot of pick slanting. So I'm going to take the A minor pentatonic and I'll either play down here at 5 or up at 17. Maybe I'll start down at 5. So, just to walk you through a little bit of what I'm doing here, I'm going to do these little bursts, basically. I'm going to take the classic pentatonic scale, and I'm going to work on little sets of 2 strings to get some speed going, maybe sets of 3 strings, and in descending and ascending order. And it's going to be a blend. Again, a lot of my stuff nowadays is like improvisation based, so I'm like working on improvising within the context of my practice. So these are like groups of 2 strings at a time. Just trying to get my pick slanting working. Nothing fancy. Again, we're warming up, Okay. Now, if you notice, so far the warm-up has been like mostly pick-oriented, right? I'm playing a lot of guitar picky stuff. And I also would spend time on doing a lot of these exercises with hammer-ons and pull-offs and all those types of things. I like that one a lot. It's like inverted. It's a pentatonic box shape 1, right in the 2 positions of A minor. might notice some of it sounds kind of like a little rough. That's actually intentional. I'm pushing to the point where things are starting to get a little dicey. But as long as I'm intentional about that, and I do practice slowing things down as well, I think that a lot of stuff needs to be practiced maybe almost at 3 tempos. One like really slow, one kind of like middle of the road, like where you feel very comfortable, and then one that's like right at your edge and push past so that you can actually push past in your technique. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. My right hand and left hands have gotten so much better recently because of this kind of work. You might call these speed bursts. Okay, so, of course I love pentatonic box shape 1. However, I would try, to get into the other patterns as well. I'm always like checking in to make sure like my shoulders are not like tight and everything. It's amazing how much better, faster, more expressive you can play if you're not like hunched over the guitar, feeling all rickety. You'll notice that I like to just like do these short bursts, and they're kind of like mathematical in a way. They'll turn into music on the gig, and when I practice actually improvising, but like I like playing number games. It's fun. Variations. Gotta love that one. Ha. Okay, and again, like I was mentioning last time, last exercise, I don't ever do one thing for too long. So I might even insert just pure improvisation in between this kind of concept so that I don't do the same thing over and over. That is historically how we have been taught how to practice, and all the science nowadays says that actually is not the best way to practice. Instead, like doing different things, and like, so you still want to, like, if you're practicing, say, this one thing, and you want to do 10 correct repetitions or 20 correct repetitions, you should still do that many repetitions. You just shouldn't do them in a row. That's the misconception, is you should do one repetition, go to something else, come back, do it again. Go to something else, come back, right? That's kind of what the modern learning science is saying. I've been researching it. I like it. It's pretty interesting. So again, I might go into some improv. Also, I'm going to throw on this Benson preamp because I have it right here. This thing's so cool. Chris Benson, the man. It's just got a little bit of dirt on there. When I say a little bit, I mean a very little bit. Let me see if I can get a little more. There we go, a little bluesy dirt. Okay, again, practicing things clean, practicing things with dirt, both very important. Notice I came back to the idea. So remember, this is like practice, and it's like improvisation, yes, a bit, but it's not just noodling around. That is so important, in my opinion. No noodling, or at least not exclusively noodling. We should practice things with intent. But that's what some of the stuff is I'm bouncing back and forth between an intentional idea and a little bit of just like free play to kind of get my creative juices flowing, as well as the technical juices, right? And the coffee juices, because I love coffee. This practice session is sponsored by the Bean Gallery on Carrollton Avenue in New Orleans. Now I'm starting to feel actually warmed up. Back to like improvisation. Again, speed bursts. And you'll notice I missed some of them, and that, like, I know because I'm pushing at my limit of actually being able to pick that. But that time I got it, right? But one important thing to realize, perfect practice doesn't actually make you faster. That's really crazy to think about, but really important. Okay, so say I worked on my pentatonic stuff, and now I want to think about a little bit less pentatonic and more like a 7-note scale. Get those kind of things, because they're a little different for me. They feel different in my hand. And so again, if you just tuned in, I'm using Ableton Live for my practice session. That's what I use pretty much exclusively, and it like is amazingly helpful. So I think I'm gonna go with this. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with this C Dorian thing. You know, I mean, Dorian's kind of super common and everything, and it's in some ways a tired sound, but I still think it's really important. Actually, let me check out this B minor thing first. I make so many tracks that sometimes it's hard to keep up with what this is. It might be good. It might not be great. That's kind of interesting. I'm not going to practice with that one, though. That sounds like I was just like messing around with writing something. Okay, I'm going to the C Dorian thing. I think this is a little up-tempo. Oh, yes. All right. So we're at about 120 beats per minute now, right? We're in C Dorian. I'm just going to start off after a sip of coffee with just a little bit of playing. Hi, Sonia. Sorry if I missed. How often do you practice every day? That's actually an awesome question. So for me, I kind of, a lot of times I have lessons throughout the day. Like I'll start, say, at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. Central with the guitar lesson. And so I won't typically practice before that, but I'll have like a little time after, in between kind of some different work that I do. So what I like to do is, instead of necessarily having like this one big chunk of practice time in the day, like say, you know, if I block out 2 hours or whatever, instead I like try to put that in, say, you know, a couple of 20-minute sessions or a couple 30-minute sessions. And so what I found is, both for like my physical, you know, my hands feeling best and everything, that if I practice, say 3 times a day, 20 minutes, or, depending upon how much time you have, it's amazing. You can get a lot out of a 10-minute session if that's all you have. I think a lot of times people end up not practicing because they're like, oh, I can't fit this 1 hour, or I can't fit this 30-minute session in my day. And I remember actually when I was in high school and college, I went to this performing arts school. And I remember it was really interesting. I felt like I was playing catch up with everybody. And so we'd all go to lunch, and I'd have 10 minutes right after lunch and right before my next class. And I would always go into the practice room and basically get 7 or 8 minutes of practice. But it's amazing. All that stuff that I was doing at that time is so ingrained into my playing. Especially at that point, I was doing a lot of fretboard knowledge and things like that. But it's amazing. Nowadays, what people generally say about learning is it's more frequent is better than long, basically a big chunks of almost cramming, if you were studying for a test, it's you go and you try to cram all this information. It's too much. But if you break it up into smaller segments, it's great. So anyway, I probably practice besides in my lessons and rehearsals and all that stuff. I probably practice, pick up the guitar specifically and work on things 3 to 4 times a day. And depending upon the day, it could be anywhere between 15, 20, 30 minutes each session. And then just to remember, I'm teaching professionally, and so I basically am playing all the time. I might teach 6, 7, 8 hours in a day sometimes. Or I go to a rehearsal or have a recording session or something like that. So there's a lot of playing, but actually trying to get practice time. Yeah, I try to hit the guitar, 3 to 4 times a day. And it might even be 5 minutes sometimes if that's all I have. But to me, it's definitely about the regularity of it. And I tell people not to avoid the guitar because they think they can't get something done in 15 minutes. When 15 minutes once a day or 15 minutes a couple times a day is way better than not practicing at all, Anyway, great question. Thanks. So we're on this C. Dorian thing. So I was just playing a lot of pentatonic stuff before, and that stuff will work on this, but I feel like if I were really playing, I would use that stuff. But in this context, I feel like I want to warm up some of those 3-finger patterns, right? Your 1, 3, 4s, or your 1, 2, 4s, or your 1, 2, 3s. All of those need some warming up as well. Again, I'm just kind of working on phrases right now, but I'm also trying to connect between strings. All right, my hands are feeling pretty good since I've already been warming up for almost 30 minutes, right? So I almost consider this not even warm up anymore. I'm starting to get into my regular routine. Which includes a lot of, improvisation. So I'm definitely starting to feel like all that stuff that I did earlier with the 2-finger practice patterns, and then playing them in groups, and then starting to throw them into the scale and doing the pentatonic and stuff, it really, my hands are feeling pretty darn good. It's like, I feel like all the work that I did yesterday, okay, it's there, it's not like they're really slow. But I find that, if I do this after I wake up or after my first lessons that I teach in the morning, I just play better throughout the day because I've kind of like come to the guitar and been so much more, thoughtful about, oh yeah, I gotta get these hands moving and feeling good and comfortable. So now I'm just being creative and having fun. Which, remember, in your practice session, you got to make time for just having fun, enjoying it. The work that you do is so important to actually enjoy that time that you've spent on the guitar and try and just make some music and have a good time. That might be playing chords, that might be playing a scale, it might be doing anything. Anything on your level is great, but it's just so important to remember that goofing off with the guitar and just having an enjoyable time, it should be part of every practice session, Again, tweaking the Benson a little bit. Like I said earlier, it's important to practice with a little bit of drive as well as super clean, because both are kind of different techniques. Yeah, this pedal sounds great. All right, I'm about to wrap up this warm-up session, but one thing I just want to talk about. So right there, I'm just freely improvising. But actually, in your improv practice, you can totally do some really awesome things where you force yourself to say, take a phrase, play it, and then rest. Don't play. That's one thing I've been working on. I find that when I listen back to myself, I play a lot of notes. And this is kind of the nature of the guitar, is that it's not like a saxophone or a trumpet where, I have to breathe to play the next notes. It's like I literally could play as many notes as I wanted for as long as I wanted, and it would, they just keep going. So it's important to think about your phrasing, right? So one thing that I've been trying to do recently is really take that time. And this comes from the teacher that I'm studying with now. I'm definitely still studying too. I'm at grad school, and that's been really enjoyable and a nice challenge. So play a phrase and then even take your hand off the guitar and put it on your leg and then wait until it's time to play the next phrase without rushing into the next thing. So that'll be the last thing I do here. I'll just do that for a few. See how that goes. It gives so much more space to the music. That was a little bit longer phrase. All right, cool. I'm going to jump off of here, but thanks for joining me today. Hope you dug this. And if you have any questions or anything for me, about some of the practice techniques that I was showing you for this warm-up, feel free to leave a comment. And if you're interested, I have a full course for free on my website, danielserif.com. Head over there and check that out. All right, awesome. Hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you later.